Hey everyone, welcome back. So tonight we're talking about ghost taxis, specifically black Hyundai sedans that pick up passengers late at night in Seoul and other cities across Korea. If you've spent any time in Korea, you know taxis are everywhere, especially at night. You leave a club in Hongdae at 2 a.m. You need to get home from Gangnam after the last subway. You're standing on a street corner looking for that orange light on the roof that means available, and usually it's fine. Normal driver, normal conversation, normal ride home. But sometimes you get into a taxi that isn't quite right. Driver who doesn't talk. Route that doesn't make sense. Smell inside the car that's wrong. And by the time you realize something's off, you're already moving and the doors won't unlock. But before we get into the story, I just want to say something real quick. This channel, these stories, this is genuinely my passion. I spend weeks researching Asian folklore, not just jump scares or cheap thrills, but the kind of horror that stays with you because it feels real. If these stories mean something to you, the way they mean something to me, please hit that subscribe button. And if you liked tonight's story, leave a like. Alright, let's get into it. Our story comes from multiple sources. I've heard versions of this from at least 6 different people over the past year, and the core details stay consistent enough that it's either a very well coordinated urban legend or something genuinely happening. I'm going to tell you about Minji's experience, specifically because she shared the most detail and because what happened to her has this ending that's been bothering me for months. This happened in autumn 2022, late October Seoul. Minji was 26, working as a graphic designer for a small agency in Gangnam. This is what she told me. Late October 2022, Friday night, maybe 1:30 a.m. Minji had been at a friend's birthday thing in Itaewon, one of those small bars near the main strip where expats and locals mix, and the music's loud enough you have to yell to have a conversation. She'd had a few drinks, not drunk, just that warm, buzzed feeling where everything's slightly softer, and around 1 a.m. she decided to head home. Her apartment was in Mapo, other side of the river, too far to walk, and the subway had stopped running an hour ago. She said goodbye to her friends, walked down the hill toward the main road to catch a taxi. Itaewon late at night has this specific energy, neon signs everywhere, people spilling out of bars speaking 6 different languages, street vendors selling tteokbokki and hoteok, that smell of grilled meat and cigarette smoke and nighttime Seoul. Minji stood on the corner near the Hamilton Hotel, phone out, trying to call a Kakao taxi, but the app kept timing out. Too many people requesting rides, not enough drivers accepting. She waited maybe 15 minutes, getting progressively more annoyed and more cold because October nights in Seoul get sharp fast. Tried the app 3 more times before giving up. Then this taxi pulled up, black Hyundai Sonata, which is pretty standard for Korean taxis. Had the orange light on the roof, indicating it was available. License plate looked normal. Everything seemed fine. Minji didn't think twice. Just opened the back door and got in, said Mapo-gu near Hongdae Station, and settled into the seat. Driver nodded, didn't say anything, pulled away from the curb. First thing Minji noticed was the smell. Not bad exactly, just off. Like old flowers? Or incense maybe, but stale, like it had been sitting too long in a closed space. She figured maybe the previous passenger had been carrying flowers, or the driver burned incense in the car for air freshener or something. Weird, but not alarming. She pulled out her phone, started scrolling through Instagram, half paying attention to the route. They drove for maybe 5 minutes before she realized they weren't going the right direction. Should have crossed the river by now, headed north toward Mapo. But they were going south, away from the river, into neighborhoods she didn't recognize. Dark streets, fewer lights, not the main roads you'd take to go anywhere at this time of night. Minji leaned forward. "Excuse me, Ayosi. I think we're going the wrong way. I need to go to Mapo, near Hongdae Station." Driver didn't respond, didn't even glance in the rearview mirror, just kept driving, steady speed, completely silent. She said it again, louder this time. "We're going the wrong direction. You need to turn around." Nothing. That's when she tried the door handle, pulled it once, twice, locked, tried the window button. Nothing happened. She pulled the door handle again, harder, that initial confusion turning into actual fear now. "Stop the car. Let me out." Driver still didn't respond, didn't acknowledge her at all. Just kept driving deeper into these dark residential streets where the buildings got lower and older, fewer streetlights, no people walking around. Minji looked at the driver properly for the first time. Could only see the back of his head, dark hair, dark jacket, shoulders that didn't move when he breathed. Actually, that was the thing. She couldn't see him breathing. The slight rise and fall you'd normally see in someone's shoulders, the natural movement of being alive. It wasn't there. He was completely still except for the small movements of steering. She pulled out her phone quick, opened Kakao to message her friend, hands shaking now. Typed out, "Got in a taxi and something's wrong, driver won't let me out." But when she tried to send it, the message wouldn't go through, no signal. She checked the top of her screen, full bars, LTE connection showing, but messages wouldn't send. She tried calling 112, the emergency number. Phone dialed, showed connecting, but no sound. Like the call was going through, but into void, nobody on the other end. The smell inside the car was getting stronger. That old flower incense smell, but now with something underneath it, something chemical and wrong, like preservatives or formaldehyde or something she couldn't quite identify, but made her stomach turn. She tried the door handle again, pulled as hard as she could, locked solid. They'd been driving maybe 15 minutes now, way past where they should have gone, deep into some area Minji didn't recognize. The buildings here looked old, probably scheduled for demolition, some with windows boarded up, that specific look Seoul neighborhoods get right before they're torn down for redevelopment. No lights in any windows, no other cars on the road, just empty streets and this taxi moving through them at steady speed towards some destination Minji couldn't see and didn't want to reach. She looked at the taxi meter. It was running, but the numbers were wrong, not increasing normally. They jump 3,501 to 8,201 to 15,601, random increments that didn't match time or distance, and the route display, the little screen that usually shows your current location and destination, just static, actual TV static, black and white interference pattern, like an old television between channels. Minji started yelling, "Let me out! Stop the car! Someone help!" Pounding on the window, on the partition between back seat and front, hitting as hard as she could. Driver didn't react, didn't flinch, didn't turn around, didn't acknowledge her existence. Just kept driving with those two still shoulders, hands on the wheel at perfect 10 in 2 position, heading toward wherever this was going. They turned down this narrow alley between old buildings. So narrow, Minji thought they'd scrape the sides, but the driver navigated it perfectly like he'd done this route 1,000 times. Came out into this open area, empty lot where a building used to be, just concrete foundation and debris. The taxi stopped, engine still running, but they weren't moving anymore. Middle of this empty lot, nothing around them, no lights except the taxi's headlights cutting through darkness. Minji froze, couldn't move, couldn't breathe properly, just sat there waiting for what happened next, because something was going to happen. She knew that, could feel it, that animal instinct when you know you're in danger, but can't do anything about it. The driver finally moved, reached up with one hand, and this is the part that Minji said made her understand this wasn't human, wasn't alive. Adjusted the rearview mirror so she could see his face for the first time. Except it wasn't a face. I mean, it had the shape of a face, the general structure, but it was wrong. Features blurred like she was looking at him through water or bad focus, like her eyes couldn't quite lock onto what they were seeing. No detail, no expression, just the suggestion of a face that her brain kept trying to process, but couldn't. He spoke. First time the whole drive. Voice that sounded like it was coming from far away, even though he was right there, like she was hearing him through layers of distance. Said, "You should have waited longer. That's all." 4 words. Then the door locks clicked open. Minji didn't hesitate. Threw the door open, practically fell out of the taxi onto broken concrete, scrambled away from the car on hands and knees before getting her feet under her and running. Didn't look back. Ran across that empty lot toward lights she could see in the distance, normal streetlights and buildings that looked occupied, ran until her lungs burned and her legs gave out and she collapsed on a corner in a neighborhood she recognized. Yongsan somewhere, she thought, completely wrong direction from where she'd been headed, but at least it was real, was normal, had other people walking around, and convenience stores with bright lights. She looked back once she caught her breath. The empty lot was maybe 2 blocks away. No taxi, no headlights, like it had never been there. Minji took a regular taxi home from there. Different company, different car, driver, who chatted about the weather and took the normal route, and she paid with card and got a receipt. Normal taxi. She got back to her apartment around 3 a.m., 3 hours after leaving the bar, twice as long as it should have taken. Took a shower so hot it burned, trying to get that smell off her skin, even though logically she knew smell doesn't work that way. Couldn't sleep. Just sat on her bed until sunrise, lights on, door locked, trying to process what had happened. Next morning, she reported it. Called the taxi complaint hotline, described the car, the driver, everything she could remember. They asked for the license plate number. She couldn't remember it, hadn't thought to memorize it when she got in, because why would she? Hadn't taken a photo of the taxi info card that's supposed to be displayed in every taxi because it had been too dark and she'd been too buzzed to think about it. They said without a license plate number, they couldn't track which company or driver, couldn't file a formal complaint, but they'd keep her report on record. She posted about it online, Korean community forums, foreign resident groups, anywhere she could share what happened, got like 3 responses immediately from people saying they'd heard similar stories. Black Hyundai sedans picking up passengers late at night, taking them wrong directions, doors won't unlock, strange smells, drivers who don't respond, different years, different parts of Seoul, but same core pattern. Some people said they managed to get out when the taxi stopped at a red light, doors unlocking automatically per traffic safety laws. Others said they were driven to random locations and released without explanation. One person said they were taken to a reservoir outside the city. Taxi stopped at the water's edge, let them out, and drove away before they could see the license plate. Nobody reported actually being hurt. That was the strange thing. The taxi would take you somewhere wrong, somewhere isolated, scare you absolutely senseless, then let you go, like the point wasn't abduction or robbery or violence. The point was something else, making you feel helpless, making you understand you weren't in control, making you experience that specific fear of being trapped in a moving vehicle with something that isn't quite human. Minji started researching, found old news articles from the 90s and early 2000s about ghost taxi sightings in Seoul. Same descriptions: black sedans, silent drivers, passengers taken to wrong locations. One article from 1997 mentioned a taxi driver who died in a car accident on the Olympic Expressway, black Hyundai sedan, late-night single-vehicle collision, no clear cause. After his death, multiple passengers reported being picked up by a taxi matching his car and description, driven around Seoul for hours, then released at random locations with no fare charged. Another story from 2003 about a taxi found abandoned in a parking garage in Songpa, engine running, driver's door open, no sign of the driver. Security footage showed it had been sitting there for 6 hours. Taxi company had no record of it being checked out that night. Driver assigned to that vehicle had called in sick, but passengers reported being picked up by that exact taxi, matched the license plate during those 6 hours, driven around the city, dropped off in strange locations. The common thread in all these stories: black Hyundai sedans, late-night pickups, usually between midnight and 4 a.m., drivers who don't speak or respond, routes that make no sense, doors that won't unlock. That smell, old flowers, incense, something chemical underneath, and passengers released unharmed but fundamentally shaken, understanding they've experienced something that doesn't fit normal reality. Some people think it's an actual ghost, driver who died and keeps driving, repeating the route he was on when he died, picking up passengers out of habit or compulsion or confusion because he doesn't know he's dead. Others think it's something older, not a ghost, but something that mimics the form of a taxi, because that's what works in modern Seoul. Same way in older stories, it would have been a person offering a ride on a cart or horse. Shape changes, but the core stays the same, something that preys on travelers late at night, isolates them, feeds on their fear. There's this folk belief in Korea about Gwishin, ghosts or spirits that linger because of unfinished business or sudden death. Taxi driver who dies in an accident while working, especially if they were alone, no passenger to call for help, bleeding out in a wrecked car on an empty expressway at 3 a.m. That kind of death leaves something behind. resentment or confusion, or just the sheer wrongness of dying alone and unnoticed. And that something keeps driving, keeps picking up passengers, keeps taking them places they don't want to go because the driver himself doesn't know where he's supposed to go anymore. Route totally scrambled, destination erased. But here's where Minji's story takes this turn that's been bothering me. About 3 months after her experience, so this would be like January 2023, she was at a coffee shop in Hongdae, just working on her laptop. Normal afternoon. Guy came in, sat down near her, ordered an Americano. She glanced up, normal people watching, and froze. She recognized him, the taxi driver, or the face of him at least. Not blurred anymore, clear and detailed and completely normal looking. Middle-aged guy, weathered face, wearing a dark jacket. She stared, trying to figure out if she was seeing things, if it was just someone who looked similar. He met her eyes, smiled, not friendly, not threatening, just this acknowledgement, like he recognized her too. Then he got up with his coffee and left. Minji sat there, not sure what to do. She followed him outside, watched him walk down the street, turn a corner. She followed, keeping distance, not sure why she was doing this, but compelled to anyway. Saw him get into a black Hyundai Sonata parked on a side street. Same car. Had to be. He sat in the driver's seat, didn't start the engine, just sat there. She watched from like 50 meters away, partially hidden behind a bus stop. He turned his head, looked directly at her, even though there was no way he should have been able to see her from that angle with all the people and traffic between them. Smiled again, then started the car and drove away. She never saw him again after that. But here's the thing. She started noticing black Hyundai sedans everywhere. I mean, they're common in Seoul. Tons of taxis use that model. But she couldn't stop noticing them now. Every time she saw one late at night, empty or with a passenger, she'd wonder, is that the one? Is that him? Or is it a normal taxi with a normal driver going to a normal destination? And she told me that's the real horror of it, not the experience itself, though that was terrifying, but the permanent uncertainty. The knowledge that you can't tell the difference until you're already inside, that any black sedan that pulls up when you need a ride late at night could be normal or could be something else, and by the time you know for sure, you're already moving and the doors are locked and you're going somewhere you never intended to go. Minji still takes taxis, can't avoid it living in Seoul. Sometimes you just need to get home and it's too late for subways. But she's careful now. Checks the taxi company logo, memorizes the license plate before getting in, keeps her phone recording the whole ride just in case. Takes longer to get home because she second guesses every driver who's too quiet or takes an unexpected turn. That baseline anxiety never fully goes away. She's not the only one. I've talked to at least 5 other people with similar stories. Different years, different parts of the city, but same pattern. Black Hyundai sedan, late night, driver who doesn't respond, route that's wrong, doors that won't open, released unharmed but changed. Nobody reports it officially anymore because what's the point? No license plate, no proof, just your word against the vast improbability of ghost taxis existing in a modern city. But they do exist, or something exists. Something that looks like a taxi and moves like a taxi and picks up passengers like a taxi, but takes you somewhere between where you are and where you wanted to be, some in-between space where the rules are different and you're not in control, and all you can do is wait until it decides to let you go. So here's my advice, for what it's worth. If you're in Seoul late at night, you need a taxi, and a black Hyundai sedan pulls up, check the license plate. Make sure it's a registered taxi company. Look at the driver, really look. Make sure they respond when you give them the address. Make sure they confirm where you're going. Make sure they seem present and alive and human. And if anything feels wrong, smell, route, the way the driver's not responding, test the door handle immediately. If it's locked, if it won't open, make noise. Scream, break the window if you have to. Do whatever it takes to get out before the taxi gets you somewhere isolated. Or just wait for a different taxi. Even if it's cold, even if it's late, even if you're tired and just want to get home. Some rides aren't worth taking. Some drivers aren't taking you home at all. They're taking you to wherever they're stuck going, have been going for years or decades, repeating the same wrong route over and over because they don't remember the right one anymore. And once you're in that car, you're part of their loop until they decide to let you out. Minji still sees him sometimes, not in person, just in her peripheral vision. Black sedan at a red light, driver who looks familiar. Turn her head to check, it's someone else, totally different person. But for that split second before she looks directly, she knows. She recognizes him, and she thinks he recognizes her too. That they have this connection now, this permanent link from the night she got in his taxi and understood that some things in Seoul are older than the neon and the high-rises and the modern efficiency. Some things have been here longer, taking different forms across decades and centuries, and they don't care about traffic laws or taxi regulations or the proper route from Itaewon to Mappo. They just drive, and if you're unlucky enough to flag them down on the wrong night, they'll take you with them. You'll get where you're going eventually. Maybe not where you wanted to go, maybe not when you expected to arrive, but you'll get there, and you'll never quite trust taxis the same way again. Never quite relax in the back seat. Never stop checking the door locks and watching the route and listening for that moment when the driver stops responding and you realize this ride is going to cost you more than the fare on the meter. Stay safe out there. Check your taxis, memorize those license plates, and if you see a black Hyundai sedan idling on a dark street, late at night, empty, orange light on, looking available, maybe just keep walking. Wait for the next one. Some rides are better refused. Some drivers are already full, carrying passengers you can't see, heading toward destinations that aren't on any map. You don't want to be added to that route, trust me on that.